Bishop, would you lead us in prayer, sir?
Yes.
Please stand for the prayer.
Father, we thank you for this wonderful day that you've given to us, for this great opportunity to come together, to seek your mind for this community. We ask your blessings upon this meeting, upon every person who's a part of it, every community person. And Lord, we ask that you make this productive time for us. In the precious name of Jesus, amen.
We pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to our neighborhood watch meeting. At this time, I'll be calling up my dear friend from Code Enforcement. Give us a report about our neighborhood.
Good evening. Okay, I don't have much to talk about, but I do want to mention to you that last commissioner meeting, we had the first reading for the border ordinance that we've been asking for, which allows us to cite properties that have their properties boarded up, residential and commercial properties, for over 120 days. So as soon as the commission gives the approval, and I believe that next meeting is December 20th, they have to go for the second reading. Come January, we're going to start citing those properties, trying to get these boards down. And typically, windows are not broken, they are not in disarray or anything. It's just a lot of property owners want to board them up, and then they just go ahead. And then it becomes a police issue a lot of times with transients, homelessness, and things like that. So that's one of the motivations behind us with this ordinance, is to make these properties more viable for the area and for the communities. So that's the biggest thing that I have. And we are cleaning up, some old cases. We're getting ready for January's special magistrate meetings and court board meetings, so they will be pretty lengthy on the first parts of the year, trying to get a lot of cases in compliance, or go ahead and get them fined and off our plates and stop babysitting some of these properties. We do have some larger projects that's going on the beach side. That's going to take time, but they will be coming back also with progress reports, so we can keep them on task as well. So that's all I have for you tonight, but I do want to open it up for any questions that anyone may have. Code questions. Yes, sir.
The old Campbell Hotel? The old Campbell Hotel on Lawrenceburg? What's going on with that?
So, actually, I could tell you more next week if Mrs. Jones has a scheduled meeting Thursday this week with several people at City Hall, community development, things like that. So I'm not sure. She called for the meeting. I'm not sure what it's about, or if we can help her in any way. And the old Campbell Hotel, for the ones who may not know, it's been in disarray for a while. And more recently than not, it had a fire several months ago. She lost her husband, and also going with this, so she's dealing with quite a bit right now. So we are trying to work with her, but again, we are still trying to seek compliance and build up the neighborhood as much as possible.
Can they give her a grant to at least put the window?
I think that might be what she's going to ask for. I'm not sure what's all available.
Actually looking at the building too.
I'm sorry.
You got some people that's looking at it for research.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Whatever works.
What's the street sweeping schedule? How do we find that out?
Public
Some
Works.
of the big trucks that was going on Palmetto, I think it was probably about a month ago. And I asked her about that. So when do they come around in this area? And how is that set up? How does it go? Is there these nice fancy trucks that are sweeping?
I'll follow up with that department,
Okay.
so I get the information for you. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I want to wish everyone a happy holiday season and be safe. And to everyone, make sure Santa Claus is good to you. Yeah, have a great night. Thank you.
And at this time, and like I said, the neighborhood watch was created so that the community and the police department would have a better relationship, and the the law enforcement can inform us what's going on, and we can almost let them know what's happening in our neighborhood. At this time, called up by Captain Kunde from beautiful Daytona Beach. Captain, thank you.
Thank you, sir. First, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I mean, not steal anybody else's thunder. Captain Condi, Daytona Beach Police Department, and I'm in charge of District 1 Patrol. I will provide you some stats, and these are from October the 29th until December the 6th. Between October 29th and December the 6th, officers in this district handled 4,236 calls for service, completed 925 police reports, made 117 felony arrests, made 105 misdemeanor arrests, investigated 96 motor vehicle accidents, conducted 701 traffic stops, and issued 653 citations. During that time frame, we had 25 Group A persons crimes, and those range from 10 for aggravated assault, 3 for domestic, 10 for DV assault simple, 1 homicide, and 1 reported sex offense. For that same time frame, we had 40 Group A property crimes, and it was 12 burglaries, 7 auto thefts, 5 auto theft recoveries, 1 construction site theft, and 15 car breaks. In addition to the stats that I've provided, typically the month of November has proven to be very violent in Daytona Beach historically, at least for the past 3 to 5 years. So with that in mind, I hired a lot of overtime to conduct specific overtime operations. They ranged everything from what's called a TNT op, which is traffic, narcotics, and transient or truancy. During this time frame, they completed an additional 128 traffic stops, issued 105 citations. We had an additional 20 felony arrests, an additional 3 misdemeanor arrests, and an additional 24 police reports completed. In addition, obviously one of the purposes of those operations was also to conduct affidavit follow-ups. So unfortunately, during the holiday season, we do see an increase in domestic violence cases. Unfortunately, we saw in the month of November one of the worst case scenarios, which is one of the homicides that we had on Bevel Road, and that was stemming from a domestic violence incident. So in addition to these operations, we continue to do affidavits, meaning we develop probable cause for charges against the person, but we're unable to make that arrest right then and there. So officers will continue to conduct checks either at places of employment or even potentially back at the victim's residence so that we can make that arrest to restore a little bit of peace of mind to the victim. One additional thing that I do have the pleasure of letting everyone here know first is that the police department will begin a campaign. We received grant funding from a program called Lights On. The Lights On campaign will begin on December the 14th. The purpose of the Lights On program is, much like Mr. Miller said, it's a program designed to improve the community and police relations. So the very short synopsis of the program is when an officer conducts a traffic stop for an equipment violation, be it a headlight, a brake light, a tail light, anything like that, instead of issuing a citation, which can create some financial hardships for those from lower economic means, the officer will have the ability to provide them a voucher. So this person who has this violation for equipment can take this voucher and bring it to one of the participating businesses in the area, and they can actually make that repair and replacement of the bulb. So it's a great program. This will be the first time that we've done it since that I can remember, but it'll begin on the 14th. I believe Chief Young will be doing a press conference for it, or if not, a lot of the information will be coming out on social media. But other than that,
How extensive are the repairs you're doing?
I'm sorry, sir?
How extensive kind of repairs that you do on somebody's car?
So it is limited. It is limited to a single equipment violation, 1 voucher per person for each vehicle. So if you have, unfortunately, if, you know, God forbid you have like 4 different equipment violations, you know, we're not gonna hit you with all of them. But it is a maximum value of $250.
Wow.
So, you know, for a lot of families, you know, getting hit with a ticket for, you know, a simple repair, this will afford them the opportunity to not really have to worry about that, just to take this voucher. And honestly, we couldn't have done it without the assistance of the businesses that are participating. So I think it'll be an overall great thing for us to improve the community relations. And especially during the holiday season, the last thing anybody needs is an unnecessary, I mean, well, I'm not gonna say unnecessary, but an expense that, you know, wasn't forecast.
What percentage of your stuff are for lights and stuff like that?
That I won't be able to tell you, because it can range. An officer can conduct a traffic stop for a headlight, but that person could, you know, have a suspended license. So it's kind of difficult to determine what the exact root cause was. And sometimes an officer will simply issue a warning, but, you know, officers typically will issue an equipment violation and they have, you know, X amount of days to make that repair. Then they bring that citation to a police department, and any officer can actually make the adjustment so they can dismiss the ticket minus a small administrative fee. Sir?
I think Kirby mentioned this before at the Midtown board meeting, we talked about this. When they're gonna get to the point where they can, remember we used to tailor the report for Midtown, the crime state report, stuff like that? They said they can't do that now, and then they change it back and forth. When will they get back to that? I'll tell you where I'm going with this. We're thinking about a lot of times about redevelopment we do in this area this year. 2 things always come to mind. They always talk about the cleanliness, and they talk about the crime, or what I think is the perception of crime. Because a lot of times you see crime, more crime is in other areas than there are in Midtown. But because of sometimes demographics, sometimes they'll quote this area. I deal with a lot of grants and stuff. So we're trying to say crime has went down in Midtown or went up in Midtown. It's hard to collate a lot of that stuff. If those crime centers just say 4,000, but that's not 4,000 in Midtown.
No, sir.
It's 4,000 all over. You see what I'm getting at?
In district.
So if they get to that point where they can tailor that, when will they be able to get those reports like we used to get at the Midtown Redevelopment Board meeting? Or is that available where a citizen can go out there and say, listen, I'm ready to grant to improve in the Midtown area, and the crime rate has been A, B, and C, and now it's this. That's the first part of my question. Then the second part is, who would I talk to and say, listen, we'd like to get a 1-year study or a 2-year study in the areas in the Midtown area to say about what are the top 5 crimes that have been committed in this area. Where would I get that kind of information? Is that available?
So I'll answer. First part is, unfortunately, we still do not have enough data compiled to provide the specific CompStat report for percentage of increase or decrease in crime. Unfortunately, when we transitioned to the new report writing system, there was also a change in how we classify offenses. So we have to collect 6 months of data. Once those 6 months of data have been collected, then the, the analyst, the crime analyst, will,
An IT guy, it's a
yeah,
database.
we'll be able to put all that information together. But it unfortunately, it feels like an eternity because, you know, for me, one of the great things is to be able to look at that report and say, hey, we're down 15% on this,
Right.
but unfortunately, I just don't have that ability yet.
And it becomes a marketing thing for us too. Those that are out there, as we say with grants, we want to market the place as being a safer neighborhood, and those numbers help, or that information helps us to say, listen, if crime rate has went down here, or it's went up here, et cetera, et cetera. You see what I'm getting at?
Absolutely.
It's like, where can we get that data at?
For you to make any type of public records request, you could either go through the online portal with the city. It would be a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act. And it's just, you would make that request specifically. The person who's in charge of it is either 1 or 2 people who are data analysts. But I don't want to give you bad information.
Right?
It would take
So
they
can compile over years, they can compile over a month. You see what I'm getting at?
The challenge would be that Midtown, for us, it's easy. We know exactly where Midtown is and
Right.
what the geographic location is.
Of course.
The issue as far as the data analysis is Midtown encompasses more than one singular zone.
I know.
So you would have to go down to the specific address because this literally could be 41 zone, but across the street it turns into 42 zone. So you would have to compile and analyze every single specific address, then compare it to the Midtown mapping system.
Yeah, it's just data.
So
It's just they
it would,
should go with it.
I'm not saying it's impossible.
Oh, it's not. Never.
It definitely feasible, but that would be something for them to do.
Who would I talk to on that?
I can, if you can give me your contact information, I know I've had it before, but if you can, you have my contact information. So just, if you can, just shoot me an email.
I got my refrigerator.
All right.
I started to say dartboard, but see, I said refrigerator.
I appreciate it. As long as it's not my picture up there.
I said refrigerator, because refrigerator.
I have a question for you. I had the experience in the last 30 days, in fact, it was within 2 weeks. I got stopped because my car hit the white line at the stop sign or at the red line. And I had no clue that the white line was so important. But the officers was very nice. They stated, we're gonna check the information. If you're okay, no problem. You know, congratulations, and now you know. Would you please explain the white line?
So, you know, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. Does everybody know what the California rule is? All right. So,
Tell me.
the California rule is when you don't,
All four.
where you don't necessarily stop at the stop sign, you just gotta slow down and then just cruise right on through. That no matter how you look at it, it's running the stop sign. But what Mr. Miller's asking is,
Be stopped.
right before that stop sign, there is a solid white line. Your vehicle needs to be stopped before that white line. If any portion of your vehicle is past or into that white line, technically you've run that stop sign, so you can be stopped for it. No.
And the last one I had, sir, I was on MLK, Cedar Park, and somewhere up in that area. And he stopped me after I turned on MLK Martin Luther King Boulevard, and he stated that I went, you know, touched the white line. And a couple of days later, I was back, there was no white line. I'm thinking, okay, but he didn't give me a ticket, so it was no big deal. But really, and one night it was like 12:30 at night, and I'm thinking,
What are you doing around out there?
I ran to the neighborhood
Party, birthday party.
Hey, I ran to the neighborhood store.
At 70 years old. At 69 years old.
Somebody stated, well, is it a crime-ridden neighborhood? I'm saying, well, it's my neighborhood. I'm saying, my God. But I kind of laughed, and I thought, I don't think I'll be stopping anybody that time of night in the neighborhood because of a white line. I really wouldn't, and I'm thinking, why would y'all subject these guys to that?
So, to be frank and honest with everybody in here, you're going to look for any violation because it gives us the ability to stop folks.
Okay.
Right? So there are officers who are proactive and they're out there because they want to ensure safe community for everybody. And sometimes, you know, when you see a patrol car behind you, people will, most of the time, abide by the laws and not, you know, commit any type of violation. So when you have someone that commits a violation as petty as it may seem, it provides the officer the legal cause to conduct a stop. And a lot of times, you know, they'll stop. Is everything's good? Okay, and you be on about your way.
Very professional guys. I'm serious, and I commend you guys on the folks that have stopped me anyhow. They've been very professional. Even though I had your name ready, I have your card in my car, just in case, you know.
Get ready to throw a flag.
Right. But yeah, I was just curious about that.
Yeah, so.
And of course, I think we have a guest that you're gonna introduce.
I do. I was gonna introduce Director Royer. He's in charge of our Citizens on Patrol program. The last month that I was here, we discussed about, you know, potentially making some recruits out of this meeting. And Mr. Royer can discuss the program, the benefits of it, and how it operates.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
There's some of you from the Mount Zion Missouri Baptist Church.
Mount Zion? No, not here tonight.
I thought I saw some familiar faces, maybe not. Well, my name is Mike Royer, and I'm Director of the Citizens Patrol at Daytona Beach Police Department. Do you have any questions before I kind of start out?
Yes, I was always curious. I always seen old white men driving the car. And I was curious, can we drive the car around this thing?
We have some old black men too.
I have a man. I could be one of them.
They're usually at 2 a.m. across the way.
I'm just
We have men, we have women, we have blacks, we have whites, we have guys that are retired, guys that are working. A lot of them actually work several part-time jobs and do this. And that's why it's so hard to get them sometimes, you know. But yeah, sure thing, sure. Okay, one of the things I like to say about the Citizens Patrol when I start out is that we are not, what are we not? Okay, we are not police officers, okay? We don't pull people over, even if they go past the white line. We don't write tickets and nothing like that, okay? We're citizens, we're volunteers with the department. Okay, so that leads to the question sometimes, well, what in the world do you do, okay? So, I made a little copy here of our November monthly report. Yeah, let me have this. I don't have a memorized. Okay. And I thought as we kind of review this, you'll see some of the things that we're doing. Basically what we do, our main purpose is we patrol. We patrol business, residential areas, schools, parks, things like that. We are often called the eyes and ears, the extra eyes and ears of the police department. Watching out for things that may need to be reported. That's kind of the big overall picture, okay? But then, what does that actually translate into? Okay, so let me just go down the list here. We have 15 active members last month. I think there's 20 total. And most months I get all 20 of them busy, but people were out for Thanksgiving and stuff like that in November, so there were 15 active COP members in November, and that's, the average for the year, 176, breaks down to 15 per month. The total volunteer hours that we put in November, 228.5 hours, and that's over 3,000 for the year that the Citizens Patrol volunteered. We drove almost 1,000 miles last month in the 3 cars that we have, and we're at 11,000 miles for the year. The total patrols of mostly people, 2 in a car going out and doing patrols, there were 31 of those in November, 268 so far this year. Some briefings before patrol were only 8, and that's because I'm not always in the office there to brief them before they go out, so I can send them a text message or an email or something like that. And they don't always see that as a briefing, but anyway. But I get called out on some other things that I help out with also. So, total traffic accident assists. We help out as traffic accidents. So 13 of those for November, about 88 for the year so far. So while we're out patrolling, that's one of the things we may come across an accident. We may arrive at an accident the officers are at already to see if they need any help there. Okay. Around 2,600, there was about almost 100 accidents for the year that we helped out at. Now, I said before, we patrol residential, commercial, schools, churches, city park areas. All of that lumped together for November, 253 areas were checked. And that's around 2,600 for the year. And this Cherry Center here is one of the places we come by and check. All right, Midtown, we have places in Midtown we check. Churches, schools, businesses, neighborhoods. We go around and check these areas. So that's kind of the grand total for that. In September, it may seem a little off, but in September, everybody, school's back in session. So we started saying, let's go check by the schools more. So since September, we have checked by 24 schools, 88 for the year. And then we also started, those flashing lights that go off in the school zones, telling people to slow down while the kids are getting out of school and going, okay. We started helping out there, just pulling over putting our lights on, trying to slow down traffic a little bit. And so we did that 9 times in November, about 21 times since September. So that's something, so you kind of get an idea of some of the, we patrol, but we kind of do some of these other things also. Flag downs by citizens, 5 in November, 53 for the year so far. We also, the officers also do this, we also do this, park walk and talks. We get out and walk around sometimes or visit a business. We did not do any of those in November, okay? So I've got to watch them about that. There were 24 for the year to date. It was really rough getting some of my folks out to do those during the summer. As you might remember, it was so hot outside. I said, why don't you go out and walk around? Oh yeah, right. So, but I'm like, we'll go walk at the mall or go, you know, into a store somewhere, you know, something like that. When you pull up at Publix or some store where people are parking in the fire lane, okay, we'll go by and check those, okay? We cleared out 11 fire lanes in November, 246 for the year. They call them snipe signs, but I call them stick signs. These stick signs you see by the road throughout the community. We picked up 142 of those, and that's something we work with code enforcement on. We picked up 142 of those in November. We picked up almost around 2,300 so far this year. So that's another thing we do. Drive-by ATMs, drive-by banks. Just make sure everything looks okay. If there's anything, and again, if there's anything that looks suspicious or problem, we call that in. And then we also do vacation house checks and what we call extra patrols. Vacation house checks, if you're going to be out of town for a while on vacation or visiting children or something like that, you want us to come by and check your house from time to time, you can call in and have us do a vacation house check for you. And we also do, the officers also do extra patrols. And for the citizens on patrol, you know, if they call me up, somebody calls me up and says, I would like you to come by my business every once in a while, just cruise by and make sure everything's okay, we call that an extra patrol, and we'll do that as well. Sometimes churches call up and want us to do that, okay? So these, some of the various things that we do, the overall umbrella is patrol, but breaks down into some of these specific type things that we get involved in also. And we had one event in November, which was the Bass Pro Parade, and we participated in that with our patrol cars. We just participated in the Christmas parade downtown the other night. Anybody go to that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I thought it was looked real good. And so we were in that as well. And we were here, I think in September when they had National Night Out, September or October. And 2 of our COPs, Citizens on Patrol that were with me, fingerprinted 60 children that night here at National Night Out. So we do child fingerprinting and things like that as well. So a lot of different things we do, but all under the umbrella of supporting the police department. We're not the police officers, but we are eyes and ears, and then like traffic accidents. We come up on a traffic accident, the officers may say, come over here and block this street for us, or go over there and block that lane for us. Or they may say, we're good, and we go on and do something else. So we're out there to help and support the department and the community. And that's why I like to include the fact that we do, you know, we respond as the officers do to flag downs. You know, somebody, hey, you know, 90% of the time, what is it about? Directions. It's usually, where's this or where's that, especially if you're on the beach, okay, you know. But we respond to those, you know, and help out with them also. On the back of this sheet, in addition to a picture of one of our patrol cars, these, if you're interested in being, in joining the Citizens on Patrol, my number and contact information are down at the bottom, and I'm happy to speak with you, talk with you about this anytime, no problem. If you decide you actually want to become a Citizen on Patrol, I need you to do an online application. At that point, if you want to come in and actually join us, I need you to do an application online. And the directions for that are up here at the top. You can go out to our website. You can use the Daytona Beach Police mobile app on your phone. Open it up, go to Departments, go to Police Department, then under Community Relations, you'll see Citizens Patrol. Under Citizens Patrol, We've got a brochure that explains a little bit, type of things I'm talking about right now. And then our requirements and training are listed there also. And when you become a citizen on patrol, you will have a fair amount of training. You're going to be using a police radio. You've got to be trained in how to do that, okay? You're going to be driving a city car, so we've got some driving courses we're going to start having. We usually get with the motorcycle units, and once a year they will give us a traffic directing class, okay? Because we don't want you to get out there standing in the middle of the road and get run over, okay? So there's a certain way we want you to handle yourself and do direct traffic, okay? And then if you decide, well, that looks good, I'd like to join, click on COP application. It's going to ask you some questions, some information, and that's going to get sent to HR over at City Hall. They're going to send it over to me, and we'll start the formal process. So that's a little bit about what we do, how you can join us. Okay. Other questions or comments? Yeah.
So I have two questions, please. Do you ever do noticing homeless people and call the homeless hotline to like get them services? Because the homeless shelter is running a hotline where if you see chronically homeless people.
Most of the time, you know, if somebody flags us down about that, we will stop and talk to them, but we're probably going to send that over to Captain Condi's
Regular
guys
police.
and have the patrol look at it as to what they do or do not do.
And what about, there's sort of this gray area, you know when you have a sidewalk and you have a street and then there's grass?
Okay.
And people park cars there like it's a parking lot.
Okay.
Like, sometimes people, I hear it's code, sometimes I hear it's the police. Like, could you guys notice that and maybe, because it's a big problem on our street.
Right now, any type of parking issue, we send over to patrol.
Okay, thank you.
We do work with code enforcement on the sniper stick signs.
Yep.
The parking issues, we're going to send over
Okay.
over to them. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Anything else?
Thank you very much for coming, we really appreciate it.
Just to answer your question, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal your flashback. Police and code enforcement will work together. It honestly depends where the vehicle is parked. If the vehicle is parked on private property, then code enforcement can take action. We can also. As far as the city right of way, then it would be a police matter.
Okay, so it's always private property.
If it's on private property, depending on the condition of the vehicle, we would be able to do it, but most of the time, code enforcement will do it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. But at this particular time, I have the distinct honor to introduce to you guys the chairman of our county council, my dear friend, Jeff Breyer. Jeff, please come up, please. Give us some news from the county. Not only is he our chairman, but he's also a dear friend of mine. And you don't get too many brownie points for that one, though.
Oh, thank you. So tonight I've learned that I'm running stop signs. I didn't even know there were, well, I've seen the white line somewhere, some places. So if there's not a white line, do I have to stop for the stop sign?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Just checking for those of you that are late.
Jeff, I
Too
kind
bad.
of thought it was for the brothers only. I didn't know it was for you guys, but he told me it was.
I always thought it was, I thought it was for something else. So it's been a long time since I've been here. And I hope you'll invite me back after the holidays too. I'm in my third year of a 4-year term. So my family decided, this is campaign season, you gotta decide if you're gonna run again. So I talked to my family and told them that I was thinking about running, and their response was, why? Why would you want to subject yourself to that again? Because they see things that happen, looking at Monica on the dais when you're at meetings, but that's not the reason I run. The reason I run is because of groups like this. I started off the day this morning, I don't have a speech, by the way. I'm going to open it up for questions. I just want to let you know a little bit about me. I started off the day this morning in Osteen at 9 o'clock for a neighborhood meeting. I said, 9 in the morning? But I went, and there was 80 people there. And there's 80 people there because they have a couple really big problems. One of them will be familiar to you probably. And so I asked him, what's your major concerns here? Flooding.
Yep.
How long have you been flooding? And now it's,
Since
well,
2 and 2.
yeah, when do you flood? When it rains. Any rain? Any rain. And I hear that from Ormond by the Sea to Deltona and now in Osteen. I've been to Lake Harney, which is our furthest south area, almost to Mims, and I couldn't get in because there was 5 feet of water. This was after the 2 hurricanes. But when I go and meet with the people and hear their concerns and what they're trying to accomplish, what they struggle with every day, that's why I told my kids I'm going to run again. It's not because I enjoy arguing with 6 other people at the county council meeting so much. It's because I do have the opportunity to help people in areas that where they really struggle with. Whatever the county council votes, I'm able to do a lot of things to help people without ever bringing up for a vote, and it's needed. There's issues that people struggle with every day, and issues that are different from one neighborhood to another, but then there's the common things like flooding. So before I start, let me tell you this. My family agreed to let me run again. My wife reminds me all the time that I'm also a father. We have I'm a farmer too. Our best crop is kids. We have 9 children. It was her idea.
Must be the fertilizer.
I'm not going there. Yeah. No, they're great kids. 4 of them are already grown and married. So now we're down to a small family with only 4 at home. Sometimes there's 6. I'm not sure why that is. But in order to get on the ballot again, even though I currently serve as county chair, I either have to pay $3,000 for the privilege of running or get 4,560 of these signed. So I'm trying to qualify for petition. So I'm going to pass this around. If you want to, you don't have to do this, but it doesn't mean that you have to vote for me. I don't know why you wouldn't. But if you fill this out, it doesn't mean you're voting for me. It just means I get on the ballot so people have a choice of candidates. So it's real simple. On the back, there's a QR code. If you have a phone and you want to take a picture of it, it goes to my website so you can keep up with what I'm doing, what I'm talking about, and what you did. You already sign one?
I have signed one, yes.
Okay. I don't think you did, Bishop. Let me ask you the same question that I've started asking people wherever I go, and that is, what are your? Don't holler it out yet. Just think about it in your own mind. What are the 3 top issues that you are concerned about? I'm different from the city. This is unusual. You've got 2 city commissioners here. You know how awesome that is that they care enough to come to neighborhood
We normally
meetings?
have 3.
Who's the third one?
Paula Reed.
Okay. I see Ken everywhere I go. I see Monica, maybe in more places than Ken because she comes to the west side of the county sometimes. Ken and I have been friends for a long time. We have some common interests, like Daytona Beach. I grew up here. I grew up just on the other side of Nova Road from here right off of Hampton. I don't know if any of you know where that is. It was a great place to grow up. I had a lot of friends, and I used to play basketball on the courts back here. Love this area. So raise your hand if you're willing to tell me what is the top thing that you're concerned about in your area, in Midtown or wherever you live. Do you live in Midtown?
No.
You live on Beachside, don't you? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I live in Midtown. I'm concerned with the cleanliness, lack of cleanliness in a lot of parts of Midtown. Things that I know code enforcement will be all over in other areas because I'm all over the city, not late at night, but I'm all over the city. I worked beachside for 36 years. I taught school in South Peninsula. So I have friends that live all over the city. And there are things that I have called, I've complained, I just don't even say anything anymore. I'm tired, lots that I see overgrown, trash cars, and I just know that it wouldn't happen, and it bothers me because you try to keep your place decent,
Yeah.
and then next door to you, it's like a dump. But nobody seems to care. I have complained. I've seen code enforcement trucks up and down my road and all, but I just know in another area that would not happen. And it's not fair to those of us that keep our properties up and we pay taxes.
Amen.
Yeah, you actually pay a lot of taxes. Can I?
Yeah, I do.
I want to relate something to you that I hear frequently about that. And there's an online organization that's called Strong Towns, strongtowns.org. If you go to that, they have podcasts, they've got printed stuff. That's a frequent complaint that comes up, and here's how it goes. Not exactly how you said it. Why are we investing in the minority neighborhoods? They don't care about their neighborhood. Just drive through them and look at them. The guy that started Strong Towns is a recovering traffic engineer. I say recovering because that's what he says. Is I'm doing penance for how we screwed up all these neighborhoods around the country with stupid traffic engineering. He's done a lot of research, and it actually ends up that it's just the opposite. The people that live in minority neighborhoods, it's not that they don't care about their neighborhood, it's that they're told all the time by actions that you just related that the cities, the counties don't care about that neighborhood. Why do we go there and fix their cracked sidewalks or pick up the trash? Have code enforcement tell them you got to mow the 3 foot of weeds in your front yard. I think race relations have come a long way in America, but they're not perfect yet. And that's one of the things that we still struggle with, is that the minority, if you want to buy land to put an interstate through, guess where you check for the path first? In minority neighborhoods. Let's buy that land and take it off and let force those people to go live somewhere else. It's still not a fair system. So what Strong Towns has proven that when you go into that, two things. I hope I don't forget the second one because it's even more interesting to me. That if the city or the county will go into those areas and make repairs, that community responds immediately because they're begging for it. They've been waiting for somebody to come and show that we respect you as people and we respect the neighborhood that you live in. And he's got tons of stories about when that happens, neighborhoods getting together and going house to house and helping one another. So it's an issue that we need to work on. The best way to work on it is to talk about it, like you did. And I don't know if I can. Your code enforcement guy left already. That would have been a great.
Oh, he's heard that so many times from me.
Yep.
Does he go through your neighborhoods?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Like I say, I see code enforcement all the time and nothing is done. I've complained, I've called, I've talked to him. I mean, I'm gonna just be honest, and I say if he was here, and nothing is being done. There's no way that the house next door to me could look like that. And it bothers me because I'm gonna say this, I have stayed in my neighborhood by choice. I don't think I should have to move if I don't want to.
Right.
But I think that we should be treated like everybody else. I mean, like other neighborhoods. And I mean, you let one or two people just run the entire street.
I only seen one motor in the front yard.
No, it's now it's, I mean, it's a lot there now. Boats, I mean, it's everything that you can name. It's in the front yard, it's the lot, the lot next door. Sometimes that I wonder, that my thing is that maybe you should hold landlords more accountable, because I know for a fact, and it's a rental property, of course, but I'm sure that he wouldn't have that in his neighborhood.
Yeah, that is a place to start with.
Yeah, that's
especially if it's rental and a landlord. But there's room for encouragement too. You've got two city commissioners here. Are you here every meeting? Mm-hmm. You or somebody from your department? Mm-hmm. So there are people who care, who are here and trying to serve the neighborhood. The other thing I was going to say about this is going to make you mad.
But it's okay, I've been mad before.
It's one of the things I learned in the process of, do I really want to run for office? Because I've never served in office before. But I looked at who was on the county council and who the chair was, and I thought, we need to make a change here. And finally, some of Ken's friends told me, well, big mouth, then step up and do it. One of the things I learned is that when you say they wouldn't allow that in another neighborhood, you go out west where the brand new neighborhoods are being built and all the streets are perfect, the sidewalks are perfect. Who do you think brings in the more tax dollars for a county or the city to use? The neighborhoods here or out at Margaritaville or?
Yeah, of course they are.
It is here. Yep. And the reason is because you're not getting the return on investment. You are from the police, but you're not necessarily getting a return on investment in picking up the trash and repairing the sidewalks and planting trees along the road or whatever they get over there. So you're a money source, and they're the recipients of it. And we have to change that. There should be a way to make sure that money that comes out of a neighborhood gets spent in those. Would you work on that, Monica? Solve that problem? Is this your district?
No.
Is this your district?
No.
But you're here anyway.
Yeah.
And the one, who else comes?
Always.
Is this her district?
Yes.
Okay.
Part of it, yeah.
Part of it is?
Yeah, because the way Midtown, this is Midtown neighborhood watch, so Midtown runs, it's got Bonita, it's got Park Ken, and it's got Commissioner Reed. The way Midtown is stretched out.
Believe it or not, Kwame don't have Midtown anymore.
Yeah, he's got like right towards the tip.
He's on George Engram on the other side.
Right.
Monica, who doesn't have Midtown.
Right. No, I didn't see Monica.
It just springs to the neighborhood.
I didn't see Monica. I didn't see Monica.
They adopted us.
What's another big concern for the?
Well,
We have flooding in our neighborhood. Flooding.
Yeah.
that's about our top three.
And crime, I would say
Yeah.
crime.
I got 10, but I'll keep to the top three.
Okay.
Well, the things I wrote down, I always think about Midtown is, because we always talk about sort of the same similar stuff. Mine are like small business development, which is one. Diversification of employment that's here. Getting people in the roofs out, homeowners that's here. The other thing I think that, and I mean this in the kindness of ways, sometimes when people address these groups, they will say in the minority area.
Yes.
And I've talked about this consistently and a number of times, and I'll be brief about it. When you look at the demographics of Midtown, Midtown at one time was considered, as they say, the minority area. That's not the way it is today. That is, how do I say it? It's outdated thinking. The numbers just do not show it. In the area that's in this Midtown, in this area, it is little America. It is as diversified as any other community. The neighborhood where I live at, over by Dollar General, in that area, I've walked it before. There's 30 houses. Out of 30 houses, what was predominantly, say, African Americans, there's only 2 of us there that are African American. My neighbor is Tadus, who's from, Poland. Next door is Daniel's wife. They're from Venezuela. The guy next door is from Honduras. Song is from China is the next house. Next house over, the guy is from Italy. George that lives across the street is from Germany. That's right there in that one area. So when people say that sometimes about Midtown, I say, you're looking at, I guess, those old demographics that's there. You need only walk around Midtown and you will see it is totally different than what people say there. And the reason I say it's important to get kind of that message out there, because unfortunately, you may not be the one, Chairman, or Steve may not be the one, maybe the ones in this room, but there are people out there that when they hear that term, they have these preconceived notions about a particular area when they call it kind of the minority area. They do it in their legislation, they don't talk about it, but they'll do that. That's why I talk about the crime thing. We have to change. All right, that's probably President calling now.
Go ahead. I'm gonna turn it off.
That's fine. That kind of a narrative that's out there is what I'm trying to say. So that in return, when you look at the numbers of this, that's why I mentioned about getting people into houses, homeowners, and we talked about that, these empty parcels, getting homeowners that's here. Those are the kind of conversations we need to have. That race relations thing, I got that. BLM, they'll take care of that. But we need people in homes that's there. We need diversification of the job market that's there, so that it's not only compact into the Midtown. I mean, first there's a decision we're talking Midtown, or we're talking about the middle of Daytona. Because there's two different things you talk about in this life. We need diversification where people they only have it compact now where it's only people in service jobs that are in this area. So therefore, when you look at the median income is it's skewed a little bit. You see what I'm getting at? Mm-hmm. So when you have that, it's like when Framework Group decided to build the property that's over there, over by Brown and Brown. When they built high-end apartments that's there. They could have built high-end apartments in this area. But because the perception is out there, they decided not to do that. Now, why would I even go on a limb and say something like that? Because it raises the tax base. As we raise our tax base, we're inclined to get more funding in this particular area. People look at the area differently. But we've got analog solutions for a digital world that's happening out there. And we have to get to the point and say that, guess what? The old Midtown that's there, that was there, does not really exist. As I did in a brief before, Commodores ain't coming back together. And we were looking at, they're just or not. And we're looking at 2023, I'm thinking to myself, where's Midtown going to be in 2033? In that area, when they built that area that's over on Beach Street, the reason it looked, one of the reasons I think it looks like that, is because they built it for 2023. We're building our areas for 1963, and it does not exist. And when people step to those lecturing, that's the conversation. When these meetings, they have those conversations. We want to talk about property taxes. We want to talk about business development. We want to talk about bringing finance in the area. That's the thing, because you know the red line and stuff like that, bringing that money. I know you can't fix it in one night. I know you're not the person who's going to fix all that, but that's what I'm saying.
I don't know if
those are the type of conversations that should be had in these meetings.
Absolutely.
Because when crime, everybody knows, when crime did not exist to the point that it does in this area, the reason it did not is because when Dixie employed jobs, the Daytona Mall was open, people had jobs. Along ISB or Volusia, people had jobs. And where you have jobs, you have less crime. It doesn't end it all. I don't think that people wake up and say, I want to commit crime. I don't think so. I think what happens is they learn that. And what it becomes transit then becomes a condition. And if you further take a Midtown area and put none but subsidized public housing, affordable housing, whatever they call it this year, in a 1.5 mile area, you get the end result of what you designed. The only way you can fix that is you have to design it differently. And you have to design it for 10 to 20 years from now, instead of this old outdated philosophy. We're trying to design it for 1960s, because that doesn't exist. The Commodores are not coming back.
That's disappointing. Let me ask you two questions, because you're changing my thinking. And I don't know if everybody in here is going to agree with you or not. My first question isn't really so important, but did I make the mistake again of coming here and saying minority neighborhood? Did I say that? Because the last time I came here and I said, I didn't refer to Midtown, but I said something about minority neighborhoods. There was a man that was here, really interested. He was kind enough, he took me outside and said, I'm tired of hearing about minority neighborhoods. I want to hear about African American neighborhoods, because when you say minorities, you're talking about Chinese, Japanese. They're doing all right. We need help. We need help in the African American. So I thought I learned my lesson. Apparently not. I'm having a not very friendly debate on Facebook with a couple of people who just really don't like me. I've been trying to work with the county and our affordable housing program. And we spent 2 years, and I think we've developed one that will really work well. They're writing on, I won't have to tell you their name, you'll figure them out. Some of these folks that, they're writing on Facebook that I'm obviously a socialist, because if we build affordable housing, it's not going to help. I have 9 kids. I don't know how they start off paying $1,800 stinking dollars a month for rent for a 1-bedroom. Somebody said that when I came in tonight. We have a need. There's no such thing as affordable housing or workforce housing. But he said if when you build that, you're just a magnet for more poor people to come in. And I'm arguing that no, it's not poor people. It's people that work hard. We've got firefighters and ambulance drivers, plumbers and electricians that can't afford rents now, and teachers. So, but you're making me question that. Should we be building affordable housing in this area? Or
when you look at Florida jobs,
you want me to build high?
No, that's not what I'm saying, sir. When you look at Florida jobs, FloridaHousing.org, I looked at that. There's got this 20-some page document, and it talks about what's the definition of affordable housing. It lines it all out. And I still thought the same thing. Well, it could be this. It's all still based on an income level.
Yeah,
at some point,
it depends on how much you take on.
That's what I'm saying. When you look at their definition of what the definition on page 2. It lines out, it's got 3 little bullets of what affordable housing, and it's still tied into that. My thing is, go back to this like I always say, I'm never against affordable, not at all. What I'm saying is that in this area, see, we got caught up in the middle of it. Because in this area, that's all they ever built in this area.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So now it's definitely needed. It's definitely needed, but this area got caught up in, it was the only scapegoat. Every time that they needed to build a subsidized development, they only built it here. Now, it's a catch, we have to take it. Now, we're not taking it, but see what I'm getting at? Mm-hmm. So the thing is that, and people will argue that point to say, wait a minute, why would you, they're doing that. Well, I always say to this, why not? What is the limiting belief in someone's mind that says that if you can build it there, you can't build it here? Why not? If it's all one Daytona. I was in the Marine Corps for 30 years, and I believe it's one America. If it's one America, there shouldn't be these lines.
I hate to keep going back to... or convert a single house to a duplex and let the people on one side earn some money, and let people just starting off, or people at lower incomes, live in these middle-class neighborhoods, so when they walk the sidewalks with a retired doctor or lawyer or somebody that owned a plumbing company or somebody that works in a plumbing company, they get to talk to one another and find out that this low-income person has just as much value as they do. They have good ideas. They want to step up in the world. When we commingle like that, everybody is better off, instead of segregating all the wealthier people here and all of us that are just starting out somewhere else. Yes, sir.
2 things, and you're right, you're spot on, and I'll tell you why. I worked in public housing with Mr. Gavin. I was the guy in the neighborhood network center. There was one of the 4 chairs right there. That's exactly right, because the public housing model has actually went away years ago.
Yeah.
They found out that by putting people in the same income, in the same place, but it wasn't really, she's not the head, she was one on the board, right? Am I right? So they found that, so public housing in a number of different places have gone away. So they're replacing it with sort of, they call it mixed development, stuff like that. So you're spot on. And then the second thing is to go back a little further to what I was saying earlier. This neighborhood, see, they look at it as a new grant, a new project. In our area, that's what our neighborhoods were. Before integration came in these particular areas, the doctors and lawyers and dentists lived in the neighborhood. Our first grade teacher, second grade teachers, doctors, you saw them cutting their lawn like it was anything else. They didn't need a special, let me inspire you this, I'm gonna be the Messiah to bring this. No, it was just regular life.
Yeah.
It was just regular life. But then what happened was our resources, along with people, moved to other places. And when those resources left, and I mean resources in the people, as in the businesses, and the neighborhood didn't sort of replenish itself with those old businesses that were there and new businesses that came in, it comes down to economics. It always comes down to economics. And what I always say, and I'll be quiet on this, that when we have public officials, what you can do is think about generating that economic base. We want lower taxes like anybody else in this neighborhood. We want flooding like anybody, just like a regular neighborhood. We don't want to be in a, like it's some kind of special science project. No, just like you got anywhere else.
Right.
Do it the same way in this area. That's my thing. Like it's in, we're all Americans. That's how I look at it. We're all Americans. Mr. Miller standing up with his 70-year-old legs.
What kind of work?
He's a man.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm retired. I'm the legislative chair for Military Officers Association. I lobbies that kind of Congress. Veteran. I'm an American. That's what I do. I do America.
I'd have to say you're doing it well.
I learned everything from Steve. You don't have people fought there. He taught me years ago. Still missing.
Thank you for speaking up, because that's not what I usually hear when what are your top three concerns? It's always flooding,
Right.
overdevelopment, and taxes to pay for the flooding and the overdevelopment. And you're affected by that too, but that's what I like about neighborhood meetings, that you get down to the fine minutia of what people struggle with. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Jeff, I've known Pierre for a while now. He's right. You know, we're both military backgrounds, so we've got to see in a broader section of America than just Midtown. But, you know, the flavor has changed here quite a bit. But as you stated, we're not 100% there yet. Things like the code enforcement issue, building up pride in the community. And I've been preaching this to the city for as long as I can remember. It's things like Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard should be a showcase because we've got 3 universities there.
Yeah.
That should be a showcase street. The one business that bought into Beach Street, basically, they own the end of the street and they're not doing anything for the rest of it. So it's things like that to build a community. But the business interest, I'm very concerned about what's going on in the Midtown shopping center there. You've got a owner who bought into the rest of the property who does not have a very stellar track record. He's been called by both of our state senators, you know, our national senators. You know, he's a slumlord. That's what he is. And I'm concerned because that should be a showcase, a place of pride in the community. And as Pierre said, jobs, things like that. But there are flooding issues there. A previous mayor from a few years back pushed through his agenda to protect his car dealerships, and then the rest of the city can wait on the, you know, Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah.
And that study was done back in 2008 and completed in 2010. Here we are, 2023, and not a thing has been done. And once again, the neighborhoods have been flooded. But as I pointed out, car dealerships were not. The other issue, of course, I'm sure you hear a lot about traffic. How things like the Dunn Avenue extension was never completed before all that development went on out there. Well, I enjoy now listening to how much of a jam everybody sits in out there. You know, one of the things I like about being where I'm at is I don't have to worry about traffic. I'm retired. You know, I fought it for years. But again, poor planning. And as Pierre said, you got to start thinking not even 2023. You got to start thinking 2035 and beyond. alternative energy is another area that I'm big on, you know. We've got vast amounts of resources here, we're not doing a thing with any of it. Instead, you know, this would counter things like the Belvedere Fuel Project. You know, nothing's being done. So we're gonna continue to have 1960s thinking, and we're gonna be way behind the bus on this one. So, is it, you know, and you already know how I feel about the beaches and what we need to do there. This has gotta be a showcase community, and it's one of those things, not due to flooding, but, you know, when you have an economic boom, it's gonna raise all boats, and hopefully not with floodwaters. But yeah, traffic planning is another one. That whole thing that's going on with Mason Avenue is insane. You know, the DOT, now again, we have a problem because we got county, we got state, and we got city, all on different paths.
Yep,
And-
absolutely.
And the liaisons between them aren't working. And that needs to be corrected. And I've heard so many times that like, the city doesn't want to step on the county's toes and vice versa, and of course, state doesn't care. So things like that Mason Avenue project, they're putting lipstick on a pig, as they say. They're not fixing the flooding issues, they're not fixing the street problems and transportation. And that's a major thoroughfare to hospitals, for everybody in this community, if you want to get to the hospital, that's the road you have to take. And it's a complete disaster in the Midtown area, and it needs to be fixed. And of course, obviously, things like traffic safety, you know, those things are important. And their answer, drop the speed limit to 30 miles an hour.
I'm truly gonna bring Jeff back here. In
That's
fact,
crazy.
this is not his first, second, or third time being in the Midtown area. And by the way, I just want
Thank you
the
for
community to know, we have Ken here, we have Monica here, we got Jeff here. We got all these folks who actually care about our neighborhood. And of course, some of these folks gonna be running for re-election. So please remember the people who come out to see about you. Not the people who just give you lip service, but people who come see about you. So, appreciate you, my brother.
He just wants a piece of cake.
Those cookies are doing on a cake.
I have eaten a lot of cookies right now.
Happy birthday.
And I want to say thank you guys for coming out and supporting the neighborhood watch. Oh, by the way, we have to take a picture because I like having a picture and tell everybody that Jeff came to see us.
Can you take one of us too? Wait.
$5.
You've gotten cheating.
Okay.
And Jeff, we want to
What
come
the
on.
heck is a camera?
Jeff, we got a camera right here too, buddy. So, you know, we have to
Please step away
it
from
on
the podium.
video.
Be like real people.
Move from the line.